All right, welcome back to the Garden State Growth Show. Today we have my favorite athlete ever out of Manchester, New Jersey, Kevin Malast. Welcome to the show.
Is it favorite athlete only out of Manchester or favorite athlete ever? And I just happen to be out of Manchester.
The second one.
Oh, wow. That's big time.
Yeah, better than like Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan.
That's insane. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jen. I'm fired up to be here.
I had some time to think about that. Kevin was actually, for those of you who don't know, was a professional athlete. He was a NFL linebacker for the Chicago Bears, the Tennessee Titans, and there was one more.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
In college, Kevin was on the Rutgers football team and team captain. Before that, he was a 3-sport athlete: wrestling, football, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
See all we learned in the pre-interview in high school. And that's where we met several times. We actually met in 7th, 8th grade.
7th, 8th grade time. Yep.
We wrestled a few times. I remember the matches were very close, went into double overtime. But you seem to pull out a win each time. I'm not sure how that happened.
It depends on your interpretation of double overtime. If that's a major decision the first time, and then just under a major in the county final at 7-1.
Do you remember the score?
Only the county. I remember I majored the first time, but the county final I knew was 7-1 because I didn't get the major. I was a little irritated by that.
Oh my God, it was that much?
Yeah,
but I got an escape.
Yeah, you got an escape.
Or was it a stall call? Because you had the hands, you're doing the hand grip exercises.
Russian tie. Yeah. It might, you know what? It might have been an escape though. Let's call it an escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I need that. I need everything I can get.
A lot of effort.
Back then there was a blue tournament and a red tournament. I thought I only had to win the red tournament, and they're like, no, actually you have to wrestle Kevin, the NFL linebacker, to get a trophy.
Future NFL linebacker. You know that then.
Well, at the time, it felt like a current NFL linebacker. So, like, where'd you find that drive early on, I guess, to train and have that vision of, like, I'm going to be a professional athlete or something?
For sure. I mean, I've always had a passion for sports. Like, I was always that kid, like, playing at the park, like, playing as much sports as I can at all times. And a lot of that was because I had 2 older brothers that were just awesome athletes themselves. My older brother, Bill, played linebacker at New Hampshire. And then my middle brother, Brian, played running back at Virginia Military Institute.
Wow.
All multiple sport athletes throughout high school and themselves. And so I always had that to look up to, and my dad played football at Villanova too,
cool.
From 1970 to 73, played a year with the Eagles.
So you already had the home gym.
Already had the home gym built out. So I grew up watching my brothers train and do what it was necessary for allow them to be the best athletes that they can be.
Jeez.
So by the time I got, to that point of far as like attacking the training, understanding the value of the weight room and how that can make you a better athlete, I was ready to rock.
How old were you like when you started lifting weights?
I would say lifting weights, probably I started getting into it around 7th grade is probably around that time where I started
13,
working with
14?
a barbell. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, around there.
And when did Muscle Milk start sponsoring you?
Huge Muscle Milk fan.
It was good.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Protein.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was so into supplements in high school.
Yeah.
Probably didn't need to be into so many, but
Yeah.
it's just like, but you don't realize, now looking back, we just had so much testosterone.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Where it's like, you could build muscle so easily,
Yeah.
16 to 20 years
old. Absolutely. But no, I always, for me, it was always, I always had a hard time putting on weight. That was always my biggest thing. Like, and I was even like a kind of a littler guy. Even like in 6th grade, I was only 100 pounds. I wrestled 100 pounds in 6th grade. Then I wrestled 110, then 135, which is when, the famous matches between. That's when absolutely.
Yeah.
The war started out.
They just sent everyone home
at 135. And then I wrestled 160 my freshman year, right?
Yeah.
So I was always just trying to, gain weight and put on weight. So like a lot of the supplement stuff for me was always like the extra calories. Where can I find extra protein and supplement that throughout my day with shakes and things like that.
Did your dad and your brothers, were they into like the diet too? Like they knew
for
how
sure.
much protein to eat?
For sure. Like, heavy into like, again, the extra nutrition shakes and things like that. It's funny. Nutrition, like education looks a lot different nowadays than it did
for sure
back then. But we're always looking for some type of advantage to kind of add into the diet mixed with the working out.
How important is the diet, like for athletes that are a teenage and
it's very important, and it's very important to establish like those habits early, right? Because even if you're just a tremendous athlete now and you're just kind of just better than a lot of the kids now, as you get older and the more serious you get about that sport, you're going to need things that are differentiators for you,
Yeah.
right? So like understanding diet and those other habits that can now make you a more well-rounded athlete. Well, that might make the difference between you getting recruited at a certain level as opposed to others
Right.
getting recruited at a certain level, right? So it's important now, I always say, even when it comes to like, strength training and things like that, understand those habits now as an athlete, and even in the classroom as well,
Yeah.
because that's going to set you apart as you get older.
I still remember like growing up wrestling, because I started in like kindergarten. So back then, like the 90s and early 2000s, after you weighed in, they were like, all right, eat a sub.
Yeah, yeah,
Eat a
for
sub?
sure. Yeah.
Friggin' sub?
Yeah,
Like, I wanted
absolutely.
to fall asleep,
I want to say like I would have like a sub, like a sub from Wawa, like after weigh-in or whatever. And then there was something called when I was in middle school, Jolt Cola. And it
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
and it was like 2 times the caffeine. So I thought if I like sipped on this like Jolt Cola, like it would get me more energized and fired up for wrestling matches.
Probably did.
But how ridiculous is that? Drinking a soda before a wrestling match? Like I would never imagine or allow my son to do that
No.
now. You know what I mean?
Like,
So
we were
it's just-
probably so dehydrated.
yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. It's just
Just
absolutely
made it so
hilarious.
much harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
For no reason.
Yeah.
Or a bagel with cream cheese.
Yeah. Yeah.
The parents would be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like fill up your stomach as fast as possible.
Exactly. Just
Feel
calories.
terrible.
Just calories for sure.
We know better now.
Mhm.
So pass that on to your son.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to get into wrestling or anything?
So yeah, he just started up with wrestling. But no, that's always another like huge fascinating part of my journey and going through it as an athlete myself and having 2 older brothers and a family that was associated with it. And now moving forward, right? And now I have a son who's 8, right? And navigating his journeys and understand like he's not going to be just like me in all areas, right? But I just want to make sure that he understands the things that matter in his development, and continue, just to work hard I always preach, attitude, effort, and focus. Be great in the things that don't require talent, right? And to hone in on those things, because I think that's going to allow you to create habits to then tap potential. Right. You talk about potential and it's like potential is kind of like more of like natural ability and like, height, weight, and speed type of stuff that you're given. But the only way you truly tap to what those potentials are is how your ability to work and to make sure you unlock that in a certain way. Right. So I just want to make sure that he understands that and really just have fun with the journey, and not put too much pressure and allow him to enjoy himself. But yeah, he is getting involved in wrestling just because it's just a tremendous sport and the things that can teach you as far as, just being resilient and tough, conditioning, accountability, and you being the only one out there in the mat. It just teaches you so much to put yourself out there and go compete. Yeah, for sure. And so just a great sport. But yeah, I definitely want him to continue to pursue that journey in wrestling.
Growing up, like we always saw those dads who would get so crazy, like in the bleachers and run on the mat and stuff. Do you feel like those are parents who maybe didn't accomplish what they wanted to in sports and they're trying to live through their kids? Whereas like maybe an accomplished athlete understands that it's like is more well-rounded and trying to,
and there's a bigger picture there too. It's interesting seeing the personalities of parents that surround you sports, and not only just in the wrestling world, but in the other sports too that we've been attached to. I mean, Cam, he plays basketball too. He plays he plays football. Yeah. He plays baseball. So he does a lot, so I'm seeing a lot.
And you're his football coach, right?
Yeah. I coach him in football at the Tom's River Warrior program too. So we have
Did you make head coach for that or?
No, not the head coach for me. I'm just
special teams.
Yeah. I'm just happy to be out there with the staff that we have.
That's
and
cool.
It's a lot of fun and it's really cool. Not only just developing Cam and seeing his development along the way, but also his friends that are going to be his buddies now, going throughout the journey with him. So it's really cool to get to know these kids, their personalities, what drives them, and to coach them up. Like that's a lot of fun to get to know their families too. And we have a really good thing going on with our team that we coach. And I had such a blast. Last year was his first year hitting in pads, and with all the experiences I had in football, and I've been blessed to have a lot of really cool experiences from Rutgers to the NFL, to the people I got to cross paths with throughout my journey. Coaching him at that level, putting on pads for the first time, it really took me back to just how important those first experiences are in the journey, right? And to really develop that passion that like where I first learned it, now for these kids to have and to let that carry them throughout their entire pathway. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
If you could go back, to yourself, Pop Warner, young teenager, what's like one piece of advice you'd give yourself early on?
I would just say, there's so much to worry about, especially as you get older and you're thinking about like, oh, who's recruiting you and
Yeah.
things like that. And who you're pleasing and things you're doing. I would just say, just appreciate the journey and where you're at. Just have gratitude with the opportunities that you do have, and live
Yeah.
with that gratitude. Let that be your biggest motivator, and just work. Work really hard. Like that's like the biggest advice that I would give to like young up and coming athletes. Work really hard. Again, be great at the things that don't require talent,
Mhm.
because that's going to allow you to reach your true potential.
Yeah.
And just to really continue to attack that. And for me personally, like, I wish like I just kind of just enjoyed all these amazing moments a little more. I always appreciated it, and I had passion for what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I always was. I have no regrets about my career whatsoever. I always feel like whatever I did in my journey led to what I'm doing now,
Mhm.
and I'm very appreciative of that. But also just to like again, just laugh more, like appreciate those moments.
Yeah. It
And
goes by
understand.
so fast.
It does. It flies by, right? And now I get to see my son have those moments. So I'm just trying to make sure that I position him appropriately to
We
make sure
were
he is similar. To
talking
those.
about before, like 4 years in high school felt like an eternity when you were there.
Yeah,
But now, as you're older, time just flies by.
it
Like
does.
when your kid was 1 years old to 5 years old, goes by in a blink of an eye.
It goes by so fast, and even like as an athlete, I always try to make sure like I had peace of mind on the process, right?
Yeah.
Knowing I did everything I could to be the very best that I could be, right? To have that peace of mind, right?
Gotcha.
So I always did that as an athlete. Like when I was in middle school, I was like, I want to make sure I'm putting myself in the best position possible to enter high school, right? And to do to do the things that I want to do, the dreams that I have, and the goals
That
that I have.
mindset's so rare, in kids.
Yeah.
They're
And
not
again,
thinking about that.
like I'm the youngest of three, and
Yeah.
my dad and my mom too, like they implemented that, like just to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need, and that I had no regrets, right? So
Right.
I'm glad I had them as a reminder to make sure I was living a certain way.
Because there's so much temptation.
There is.
And high school and
Distraction.
college.
Distraction too, right?
Yeah. You're
As
so
far as
focused
what
on
other kids are doing.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned too, like in that journey, like it gets a little lonely in the journey, because you realize as you get more
Right.
and more involved in the sport and the goals that you have, just not a lot of people share
Right.
in those experiences, or like are willing to like do those type of sacrifices. So
Right.
when I'm working out in certain times, or like whatever, like again, like after a wrestling match and I'm doing like an extra workout, there's not really many people to my right or left kind of committing in
Talk
that
to
way.
about who you talk to
Exactly.
about that.
But I always had perspective and
Yeah.
understood like where I wanted to go long term. So again, I'm lucky to have an environment of family that encouraged that at all times, right? So all I'm looking for is peace of mind. So then when I went to college, like I want to make sure I had this tremendous opportunity at Rutgers,
Yeah.
and I want a peace of mind of that process, to then hopefully that can position me to play in the NFL one day. But nothing's guaranteed, right? Like
Yeah.
there's just you can only do the best you can to best position yourself, but there's nothing guaranteed, right? So I always want to make sure at least I'm taking care of everything that I can take care
Yeah.
of, right? And now I want to reallocate that as a parent, right? So
Mhm.
how I spend time with my kids, how I spend time with the family, like that's very important to me. So I want to have peace of mind now. And it's funny how that never escapes you, right? Like
Yeah.
like you learn these habits of like a mindset and approach, but now like I want that same mindset as a dad, as a husband,
If
right?
you have the right mindset, anything's possible.
For sure.
You know?
Absolutely. Yep.
If you look
And
at
you have no regret.
untapped potential is the most common thing among athletes or entertainers.
Mhm.
It's like if they just worked a little harder,
For sure.
they could have got there.
Yeah.
If you look at like Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, were they the most talented? I don't know, but they did 10,000 shots.
Yeah,
know?
for sure. Yeah.
They practiced 8 hours a day.
Well, what makes them like literally just freaks of nature, and like the things that they
Yeah.
were able to accomplish and overcome, was they were super talented, but they also had a mentality, a worker's mentality,
Yeah.
right? So that like all those habits that you try to develop young, like those habits never got lost throughout their journey, no matter where they were
Yeah.
in their careers. And when you pair an insane amount of talent with an insane amount of work ethic, like that's the type of guy you get. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having that focus and being okay with being bored,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
at some point it gets boring.
Yeah,
But you have to just kind of push through. It's the
Yeah.
same thing every day.
Yeah,
every day.
for sure. Absolutely.
So fast forward to college, you were pretty good at wrestling, pretty good at football, and
I'll take pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good to great. So you kind of had a choice to make, I guess, at some point, like what sport am I going to do?
Yep.
Because you don't really see a lot of 3-sport athletes in college, do you?
Yeah, it's rare you get like multiple sport athletes.
You kind of do that sport all year round.
All year, it becomes like a full year thing.
It's a
right?
full-time job.
In how they divide your time and your time commitments for that sport, especially when you're on scholarship.
So you kind of had your eye on, your Mount Everest was getting to the NFL, I'm assuming.
For sure.
So is that why you chose football?
Absolutely. So I always had a long-term goal of playing the NFL one day. But understanding it was like stepping stones, and for what allows me to do that is to play major college football, and that's what kind of.
And why Rutgers?
So I just really appreciated the culture they were building at Rutgers at the time, and it was at that time it was a very it wasn't like such an easy decision. Like, of course, Rutgers University, because like they were just building the program in a certain way, but they weren't exactly like winning a ton of games just yet. But if you followed the program and you followed Coach Shiano, and again, the culture they were building there, you knew it was coming. So I hit it at the perfect time.
They had some surprise wins,
some surprise.
Too,
yeah, for sure. But so it's funny, my senior year in high school, now I committed to Rutgers early. I committed to Rutgers my junior year.
Oh, wow.
But my senior year in high school, they upset Michigan State at Rutgers. And it was a huge win. It's like, see, this is the Rutgers that, everyone's getting ready to, but the following week they lost to New Hampshire. So they got upset by New Hampshire. So it was like, it's still same old Rutgers. Everyone's trying to navigate that. Obviously, like I was committed to Rutgers. I knew that was a program that I wanted to go and, I wanted to play for Coach and the staff that he had there. And so when I got there, that was the first year that they made a bowl game under Coach Shiano.
Wow.
We played in the Insight Bowl, played against Arizona State. So that was a tremendous opportunity, and it was only the second bowl game in school history. And Rutgers is one of the oldest, is the oldest college program in school history, them in Princeton, first college football game of all time. A little history for you.
Wow, nice. Let me write that down.
Yeah, write that down. There you go. So like, it was a really cool, time to enter Rutgers, and tremendous opportunity to kind of walk in there. First bowl game.
Ray Rice was playing.
Yeah, Ray Rice was in my recruiting class. Devin and Jason McCourty was in my recruiting class. I mean, I played at Rutgers. I played with some unbelievable players. So I played with the only 3 first-round draft picks in school history.
Oh my God.
I played with all 3 of them. We beat 2 top 5 teams in the country when I was there.
And you were a middle linebacker?
Yeah, I was a will linebacker. A lot of times where I was lined up, it looked like I was in the middle. But I played will linebacker there. Yeah.
And were those guys on defense that got recruited to the NFL? Or were they a combination of offense too?
Oh, so a combination of offensive players too. Yeah, obviously Ray Rice was a great tailback. Devin and Jason McCourty were 2 amazing, corner safeties.
Okay.
Unbelievable players. They both had 13 years in the NFL.
Wait, they're twins, right?
Yes, twin brothers.
And they were both cornerbacks?
Yeah. They were both corners at Rutgers. Yeah, yeah. And then Devin ended up getting moved to safety when he played for the Patriots.
So talk to me about the difference between high school and college, speed difference, size difference. What was that jump like?
Crazy jump. Just to see high school, you see your average offensive line is 200 pounds across the line, 220 pounds. You have your outlier guy who's getting recruited. Maybe he's a little bit bigger. But for the most part, you're looking at O-line that's almost, maybe at that time for me, was the size of me, playing linebacker. So it wasn't it wasn't that crazy. But when you get to college and you're averaging 310 pounds across the line of scrimmage, it's just crazy to go up against that. You're not used to
and they're athletic.
And they're super athletic. They can move really well. So you're just not used to that type of push up against you.
Sure.
So that's where you got to be very precise in your movement and who you are as an athlete. And you got to work on your strength and your power to make sure that you can press off that.
How much did you weigh freshman year of college?
Freshman year in college, I really wasn't crazy heavy. I would say I got up to, I was 218, 220 pounds, maybe around there.
Is that on the small side for middle linebacker?
It all depends on the scheme that they play. But I would say it was about average for me being a freshman linebacker coming in. I ended up leaving my final weight that I took before I left to go play in the NFL. I weighed at my pro day 236 pounds. Okay. So I put on a good amount of weight throughout my career.
You had no fat, you were shredded.
Yeah, no fat, low body fat. Had a really good strength and conditioning program there at Rutgers too. So it allowed me to kind of build into the NFL player that I would become.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a huge difference as far as the starting point in high school and then what that college program can do for you.
Yeah. And when did you start like actually playing? Were you playing freshman year?
Yeah, so I played as a freshman. I played a lot of special teams.
Okay.
I was supposed to redshirt, but my red shirt got pulled. I want to say the 4th or 5th game into the year. Again, like I'm very happy that I got to play in a very like history making season for Coach Shiano and and the team there. So that was really cool to play as a freshman. I started my junior year at Rutgers. That's when I became like a full blown starter. So I started my junior and senior year, but I was always a reserve linebacker, special teamer throughout the beginning part of my career, which again, I'm very happy about that part of my journey and understanding the importance of special teams, because that's what allowed me to, survive the NFL, that I was a willing special teams player, that I enjoyed it, that I embraced it. And I had a passion for it. And what allowed me to have that passion was my earlier years at Rutgers.
When you were on special teams in the NFL, were you on the kickoff team, receiving
team?
Yeah.
So a lot of times you call them like 4-phasers. So like kickoff return, punt and punt return. But again, like those are like game-changing opportunities, right? So you want to make sure you have players out there that are willing to sacrifice and be great out there, right? Make plays, make tackles, block,
run full speed,
Yeah, like doing your job to maybe make sure someone else makes a tackle, like whatever you need to do as a special teams player. It's a very important role that I feel like it's a little overshadowed
for sure.
to your average fan who might not understand like the importance of that.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys who become starting linebackers in the league, they start off on special teams, right? So it's like their entry point of the NFL to show like getting understanding of the speed. Again, like a little bit of their character and what they're willing to do for their team.
Yeah.
It's like a snapshot of that and what you're willing to do as a special teams player.
Gotcha. And so like at the end of college, I guess at some point you got linked up with a sports agent before you went to Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, for sure. So at that time, you want to start identifying the people in your corner that's going to allow you to best navigate that journey into the NFL. So, obviously from a contract standpoint and other things, all business surrounding football, but also like what else can that platform represent and how else should you be utilizing that and some strategies involved in that. So that's where you go through that process. You start interviewing agents and you start figuring out, who are people that I want to align with from a character standpoint, but also like some case studies that they have done and what they have done with players in the past.
Proof over promise.
Exactly. That's going to allow you to understand like, okay, these are guys that I want to align with.
Because there's a lot of bad agents out there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Everyone has a certain way of how they do business. So you just want to make sure you align with those people from a character standpoint that are going to do right by you, right? And what's best for you to make that decision. A lot of times just getting educated on the process, things that you should be looking for.
Yeah.
And then understanding like how those agencies run and operate, things that they do from a case study standpoint and how they can protect and serve you moving forward.
And you initially went with Chicago, right?
Yep.
And that was because their defense was similar to yours?
Yep. So I wasn't a drafted player. I went there as a priority free agent, right? So when you're not drafted, teams start, they start talking to your agent as far as, hey, we want Kevin to come here. At that time, it was 80-man rosters, right? To fulfill camp requirements. You have 80-man rosters, right? So they try to fill out those 80-man rosters.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, they're doing everything they can to bring you out there, because what each NFL team wants to do is they feel like they can get a steal as a free agent, someone they didn't have to draft, but also they can still bring you in to, strengthen their team and make it like a really good training camp roster, right?
Gotcha.
So they want to bring you in. Plus, they also feel like in the back of their mind, maybe you can make that team, right? So Chicago was one of those teams. There was 4 other teams as well that were looking at me. But I chose Chicago given it was a similar defense I played at Rutgers, and I knew I can go play there fast. Because there's a lot of things, about the NFL. It's very tough to make that transition. One thing you can't be doing is thinking when you're out in the field, right? So at least I went to a team and they brought me in on a visit as well. So I knew the defense. I knew I can go there, run around, go make plays, and showcase my best self.
Just tell me, what's a visit? Does that mean like a dry run, almost like a practice? Let's see how Kevin moves.
Each team has a certain amount of pre-draft visits of guys they can bring in to visit the franchise, right? You know what I mean? To come and visit the team, right? So you're meeting with coaches, you're kind of whiteboarding. Are
you running plays though?
You're not like necessarily running plays. But you are like whiteboarding plays. So they're getting an idea of like what You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like in your ability to adapt to their scheme.
Your football IQ.
Exactly. So you're going through that. And then plus they're getting to know your personality. So you're meeting with a variety of people. Maybe they're running an extended physical on you and things like that. So that's kind of like, it's a pre-draft visit, and each team is allowed a certain amount of those.
How nervous were you when you went to that?
I was extremely nervous. I mean, you're walking.
Were you like shaking on the whiteboard?
Yeah. Well, it's just like a tremendous opportunity that you want to make sure that you do the best you can to best represent yourself in the process, right?
Gotcha.
So there's a certain amount of pressure there in that regard. But other than that, I just knew because I felt prepared for that though. So
Did
I
you
had
move
to
to Chicago?
No, so every person's different as far as how they handle that or where they were at in the team or what money they made. So me, I always lived as tried as cheap as possible wherever I stayed, because I knew I was a day-to-day guy. I can get cut at any given moment.
Got it.
So no, I lived like in an extended stay when I stayed out there.
Okay.
Just again, cheap as possible. And now at the time, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, she just lived back home and built her own career.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So as a free agent, like when you're on the practice teams, you get paid for that?
Yeah.
Good.
For sure. Yeah. You get paid. It's a certain amount, but you get paid. You're a part of the team. You simply just don't practice. You don't play in the games, obviously, but you're there to practice, and they're supporting to get the team ready. And
then you played on 2 other teams.
Yep. Titans. So I was a practice squad player in Jacksonville as well. And then I eventually got active to the Tennessee Titans, where I was a linebacker special teamer there. So I was an active player there. And that's what's really cool about my journey in football. In my 4 years, I experienced a lot during that time, right? So I was a practice squad player. I was an active player. There was a lockout in 2011, right? So I've seen a lot as a player that allows me to reallocate on this side of the business, right? So I understand like the business part of it. I had to go on IR too. I had to get a second opinion for IR, that's injured reserve, right? So again, I've seen a lot from a business standpoint. And Pat who was my agent, who I work with now, he ended up, he's the guy who kind of like ushered me through that part of the business, right? Educated me along the way. Here's why we're doing things. So allowed me to have a full understanding and educated part of my journey that now I get to reallocate in the business that I'm in.
Well, athletes that are going into the NFL, anything that's like a common misunderstanding, before they get in there, or does like college program and time blocking kind of prepare you for, like, if you're a D1 college athlete, is that all you need to know to get into the NFL? Or is NFL like, you're on your own, you got to do this, this, and this, and you just come when you're ready kind of thing?
I would say, most college programs, they get you ready, to go play in the NFL, because you get a fair understanding of like the sense of urgency you need to have to be the best player you could possibly be. But I will say, like, your time management has to shift, and you have to be a pro now. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, on your own time, you have to make sure you stay ready, right? So you're not, every minute of the day isn't at the NFL facility, right? So you have to make sure when you do have your own time that you're doing everything that you can to put, your best version of yourself.
Do you have your own personal trainer, like outside of the NFL?
So you train with the NFL strength and conditioning staff, but however, when you're back home, right, before, like, you get, some weeks off before training camp. Well, what you do with those weeks, like that falls completely on you. Yeah. So whether you want to hire a trainer, maybe you go back to your former college.
What did you do?
A lot of times I would go back to Rutgers and train there, because we had so many guys that were playing in the NFL, and we had such awesome relationships with one another. So we'd all get together and like block time right at Rutgers, like right in the weight room at Rutgers, and we all get together and just train with each other.
Did you guys have like
so it was awesome.
Like a lifetime pass to their gym? Like, how do you do that?
Well, you built up a relationship with the coaches there, and like, and if you handled yourself a certain way, like, it's really cool for them to have all these guys who are former players now, who are now playing the NFL, to come back and train at the facility. So when they're walking recruits,
I was just thinking
they're walking recruits to there, and they're like, look, these guys all played here. They all play in the NFL now, and now they're all coming back and spending time with one another. It says a lot about like the culture and the relationships that were built along the way. And that should matter and resonate with a recruit and their family. Absolutely. So it's a really cool thing.
When they're picking colleges, culture should be at the top of the list.
No doubt.
Because that's, whether it's toxic or it's, benefiting you, can make all the difference in your career.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about what you're doing currently.
Yeah.
So you did that for how many years?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
So now you're with Legend Agency.
Yep. Legend Agency is a full service sports marketing representation agency that primarily represents talent in NFL players, broadcast and media, and coaches. And we serve in the areas of contract, branding, marketing, and what we call legacy, which is a mix of philanthropy and entrepreneurship, like everything that
Oh,
you want to
cool.
do and accomplish off the field or the arena
Wow.
or out of the arena.
So that's like you guys are fully vertically integrated for the
Yeah.
whole life cycle of the sports athlete.
For sure. For sure.
Because a lot of them start as the athlete, then they go into sports broadcasting or coaching.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. There is a very natural crossover
Yeah.
in athletes and where they want to go next and what they want to do. And plus the circles and in the relationships that we have within the network, like it all just kind of makes sense.
And who's all involved in that? Is there other partners?
Yep. So another partner is Pat Capra, right? So Pat was my agent when I played in the NFL. And again, like what's really cool about Pat is he showed me the way as far as what this relationship should look like.
Yeah.
Right. Like how he treated me, it allows me to pay it forward and treat
Gotcha.
others that we work with now. And to me, that's super important. Like that's the
Yeah.
benchmark. Right. So, and I always say Pat was very out in front of the forefront of what the model is and what and how we implement in
Yeah.
our delivery of service. He was in it very early in the game. So that's not brand new for us. Right.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
I very much appreciate everything that Pat did for me as a player, because
Yeah.
now I get to pay that forward. Another partner is a guy named Ari Nissim.
Yep.
And Ari's incredible too, because he has a huge background in front office work with the New York Jets and his time there.
Yeah.
And then he made the switch to the agency side, and he's learned a lot about that business too.
Cool.
So what he knows about, again, negotiating a contract for and against a team, it's very important to have that
Yeah.
in our wheelhouse. So it's really nice to have him, Pat, and then my perspective being a former player. We feel like we got kind of all the perspectives kind of covered
Yeah.
a little bit in
That's
that
awesome.
standpoint. So it allows us to be the best for our clients.
And who's out there kind of shaking hands, kissing babies, and bringing in new clients? Is that you?
Yeah, I think it's like, it's all of us, it's all of us
Yeah.
attached to it. We all have our own networks and relationships that we've built along the way, to where we earn the trust. So we're all kind of navigating them in our own right. And again, just trying to educate people on what we're doing and how we can help support,
Gotcha.
and just, being a good friend, being a good, partner in whatever we're doing or whatever we're working on together.
Is your best client a referral usually from one of your other clients?
That usually helps in a lot of ways because, in our business, it gets very competitive. So if there's someone, let's say someone that you identify, a lot of times what can help you maybe earn that conversation is someone else validating for who you are and your character.
Yeah.
Right. So like if anybody could be a validator for who we are,
Gotcha.
that's like the biggest first step for a lot of the
Yeah.
conversations that we're having, and how we're, to get to that point of education and who we are as an agency. A lot of times what allows them to listen to us is other people being like, no, those guys are great guys. And here's how they delivered for us in the past.
Awesome. What's the first conversation look like? Is that a phone call? Are you flying out and meeting them, or combination of both?
A combination of both.
Yeah.
A lot of times you try to at least have a conversation as early as possible,
Mhm.
just to, set the tone as far as, in educating them as far as what they should be looking for and what we do in our delivery of service.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the first, and also just getting to know who they are, right? And understanding like
Yeah.
what they want to accomplish. What are their goals? What are their aspirations? Because a lot of times we're growing with them, not only as an athlete, but just as people in general
Yeah.
and other areas of interest that they want to get involved in. Right. So where can you start beginning strategizing and in getting to know what they got going and who they are as people and their families too, what motivates
Sounds like
them.
culture is really important to you guys.
Very.
Almost the number one.
Yeah. It's huge. It's a big
And
piece.
character.
Yeah. Character. And like, again, like you can, it's two things, right? You want to showcase capabilities and what you're able to do as an agency, but also you got to be trustworthy and reliable and someone that you can pick up the phone and have an easy and honest and good conversation with.
Right.
Actually, I say easy, and that's not even the case. Like sometimes it's a tough conversation,
Right.
But like you want those people in your corner that always going to be with you along the way of a
Sure.
journey that's very high and low,
Yeah.
right? Like even when it seems high for a long time, like unfortunately, like there's a shelf life on being an NFL
Yeah.
player. Like it crashes down. It never is a straight line. It's, you're getting cut and what's the next opportunity? Okay, where can we maximize this window?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's making sure that you're navigating those things together and you identify people from a character standpoint to where, yes, these people are going to be in our corner. They're not just going to disappear when times
Yeah.
get tough.
It sounds like you know, they can call you with the hard questions,
Yep.
and you guys will have a game plan, you know,
Yeah, for
for
sure.
them, whether things are going well or not so well, or
Absolutely.
how to shift gears and,
Yeah.
you know, explore something over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. I guess, like, what keeps you guys going? What keeps you motivated to keep doing what you're doing?
You know, it's just, you know, I would say, you know, fulfilling the promises that we make in the
Yeah.
recruiting process and in the beginning parts of these relationships, how we deliver for our clients, and also just how we deliver for anybody that surrounds the community that we're touching, you know, and just to make sure that we're representing ourselves accordingly as,
Yeah.
you know, just good people that can do things at a high level, you know, and that's really what it comes down to.
And, you know, really, you're representing families. It's not just an athlete.
Yeah,
You know,
for
usually
sure.
they have kids, they have a spouse, you know, they have a mom and dad they have to take care of.
Yeah.
So if you do right by them, that enables them to kind of build a legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Legacy. There you go. Yeah, it comes full circle. Full circle. Absolutely. No, that's a big part of it for sure.
Awesome. So what's next for you guys? Just keep doing what you're doing, and any other verticals you're looking into, like content or
I would say just keep doing what we're doing, you know, and you know, at the level we're doing it, and just to kind of continue to build out the network and to find, you know, the next, you know, NFL player, and to build those relationships and build those bridges with
yeah.
the future generation of guys, but
Gotcha.
also continue to again deliver in our current relationships and our current client base.
Well, Kevin, it's awesome having you on here. This has been great. I always wanted to kind of learn about your sports background because, you know, we don't get to talk every day.
For sure.
But that's sick what you're doing. You know, I'm super excited, proud of you guys, what you're doing with that sports agency. Sounds like culture and, you know, character is super important to you guys, which is really the foundation for all good businesses.
I appreciate it, Jan. Thanks so much, you know, for all you do and everything that you're rocking right now too. So thanks so much for having me on. It's been awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's our interview with Kevin. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment below, and we'll see you on the next one.